Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video, not only am I going to be letting you know the time and the date, which you can already see on the screen, for the next letter from the producer live, but also what you can expect to come out of patch 7.2 and potentially this part 1 live letter as well. So as per the Lodestone post, we now have our time and date for number 85. LXXV, that's 85. You'd think I'd get better at this and not worse, but somehow I've gotten worse over time. It's just because I'm old now. Letter from the producer live part 85 set for February 7th. That's 2 weeks from the day this video is being recorded and posted. It's going to be at 3 a.m. Pacific. Good old live letter times. It hasn't been that long, but it feels like it's been quite some time since I've had to do a 3 a.m. Live letter watch party. Yeah, actually, it has been a while, hasn't it? It's been like, what, since November? Ugh. Oh, such a long time. And then, of course, it's got the YouTube, Nico, and Twitch links right there. Patch 7.2, Part 1, and miscellaneous updates. As per usual, there will be no English translations, not official ones. The slides will have both Japanese and English text, but all of the audio will be Japanese only. We'll probably be referencing the Final Fantasy XIV subreddit's Discord, which usually does translations for that, in order to report on it on February 7th. Now, in terms of what 7.2 is going to be bringing, 7.2 is what we like to call the inflection point of an expansion. It's where a lot of the more broader features that people were expecting tend to enter. You could argue 7.3 is really the inflection point or the peak, because normally that's when almost everything we were expecting is in, usually minus 1 or 2 things. But point 2 is going to be the single most important patch in Dawntrail, because it is going to be setting up content that is going to be relevant for the rest of the expansion. And I cannot stress enough how important that is with the feedback that there's been as of late. Don't worry, you're not seeing things. I am doing this on purpose because I need to pull up an image. And it's not my thing is not formatted to both, and I'm so professional, as you can see. Fortunately, Yoshi-P just did a stroll with Yoshi-P, which is a live stream where he just goes around the housing districts and normally just converses and looks at some houses. And he actually did it with Hironobu Sakaguchi, who, you know, they just released Fantasia not long ago. I beat it not long ago. Be sure to check out my review. And we have a few comments from a stroll with Yoshi-P. Now, these were posted, taken from Reddit translator 12425, 7.16 Final Fantasy XIV at the bottom. Somebody else posted this on the main page. I'm assuming this was in the Discord for the subreddit, but I'm pulling it from the main page on Reddit itself. So here's the information we got. Stuff that we expected, but stuff that is good to hear out loud. Number 1, field exploration content. The Occult Crescent, aka known as Crescent Island, which is actually a location in Final Fantasy V, will be implemented. There is something related to support jobs, hence the Final Fantasy V sprites coming in 7.2. Now, we have confirmed, it says unsure of 0.25 or 0.2. Yoshida previously has said 7.2x, which implies that it could be anywhere between 0.1 and 0.6. Normally, 0.8 doesn't include brand new content releases. So it could be, it's most likely 0.25. I would expect it then, which, let's say with February 7th as the release date for the first live letter, normally it would be 5 weeks until the next live letter and then 9 days after. That would put the patch on March 25th, which is exactly 19 weeks after the previous patch, which is on pace, but sometimes they do an extra week. So we don't know if that's going to be the case this time around or not. We'll still need 1 or 2 more things to determine the actual patch date. Now, we are getting confirmation also that Cosmic Exploration will be in 7.2x as well. This says 7.2. Again, I'm not 100% certain that it will be 0.2 as an on patch. I'm kind of skeptical about that. I would like it to be, but Cosmic Exploration is basically another Ishgardian restoration style content. We've gotten a lot of little details about it over time. For example, they want to balance the server-wide progression of like what we had with Ishgard, as well as having instanced progression so that players don't feel like they're joining in on an already completed server until they've actually contributed to some capacity. So there's going to be a mix of those two things, probably a decent amount of instancing so you can experience progression even if you come in at the later patches after the server has technically completed the expansion of the stars. Remember, this is effectively crafting, gathering, diadem related stuff, Ishgard Resto related stuff in space. Like, we got moon bases and stuff for that. So that's if you're someone who's looking for the crafting gathering. We don't know if there's going to be like Saint of the Firmament style competition. We just know that it's going to be very heavily crafting and gathering related, probably going to be good for leveling crafters and gatherers as well, but that is unconfirmed at this point. Also unconfirmed if you'll be able to level in Crescent Isle. I expect you will. They said it would be the best of Bozia and Eureka combined, so that would imply you'd be able to actually use it as a leveling feature. Now, we have some more details. Please look forward to the latest 8-man raid for patch 7.2, bringing out the interesting stuff where you can only find in 7.x. Basically just saying it's more of Dawn Trail's combat design, which of all the things Dawn Trail has been criticized for, the actual encounter design has not been one of them. It has been one of the most stellar things. They still need to give tanks more interesting stuff to do. Valagar Manda was really false hope, but all the same, it's definitely been a step up minus some balancing issues. Might see, at least it's not Abyssos balancing, might see more and more things you don't see quite everywhere. While they are aware of opinions where some players hate mechanics where you only do them but not being able to hit the enemy, aka downtime, but if that makes the raid interesting, let's try doing various things about it. Basically saying, don't expect easy uptime. We actually did have a good amount of uptime testing where you had to be really kind of brave to do it on some mechanics in the first part of the Arcanian. So I expected them to follow suit. The smaller hitbox are forcing players to either make the concession if they're afraid of getting hit and or just really going for that risky play, which is really more common in like PF, reclears, stuff like that, and less in the week 1 or progression style clears. But either way, it was well received in the Arcadian, so even if some players don't like it, it was generally better received, and they're just saying there's going to be more of that. So if Arcadian, I just hope the final fight isn't undertuned by like a whole minute. That's the only thing I'm not asking for. Everything else was good. The next ultimate development is already underway. The plan is already decided. So we have not had confirmation of another ultimate in this expansion, but they wouldn't be planning another ultimate for next expansion starting now. We don't have a timing on that, but I'm willing to bet it's 0.3. And so it looks like we are getting a second ultimate in Dawn Trail. Not confirmed because there is no patch date on this, but it would be very unlikely that they get into the development of it and don't release it within the same expansion. The only time that happened was DSR, and that was because the patch cycle was kind of messed up at the time. It starts to become a pattern where people can solve mechanics by looking at the debuffs inflicted on players. It becomes a game of whether you're fighting the boss or fighting with the debuffs, so they're going to cut those kind of indicators down. So we're assuming that they're talking about specifically, they might be talking about the game as a whole, but they might be talking about Ultimate. And that is a good thing for them to have observed. So a great example of that is Hello World in top. Hello World is supposed to be one of the most frightening mechanics from the original O12S, from Final Omega, because it requires you to be very intuitive, very quick to react, and very smart about the way you use the space. In top, the moment you get all the debuffs with all the timers, it's effectively solved. My group took like 30 minutes to dissect them all and go, okay, well, this is the order this happens, so do this, 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 and this. And then it was just repetitions to make sure that we did it, but it was solved in like one pull. This was even true of something like in Fru, the, what's it called? Relativity. Relativity was basically solved in one pull because you could see what all the timers were. You could see the timing of, you know how the chains with the lights work from Savage. So it's another thing that was solved in almost like 1 or 2 pulls just by extrapolating debuffs. And it really does make things much easier to solve and a little less exciting to progress. So having less debuff related indicators, or specifically indicators that give away the whole mechanic just by giving them to you at the start of it, does take a little bit of the fun out of some things. Even if they just do head markers instead of debuffs for certain things, it would probably go a long way. So I agree with that assessment, and I'm glad to see they may not be relying on debuff vomit. Also, we've had the problem of buff culling being a thing. So the less debuffs we have, the less likely we are to run into buff culling. So that's another thing to consider. And finally, there's going to be more things where you might want to pay attention to the screen in 7.2. Many things will undergo changes like tempo and so often, likely referring to battle pacing. That is an injection by the translator right there. So this is a very unclear statement, but we were told that in preparation for 8.0, we were going to gradually see more and more combat-related adjustments and changes going through 7.x as well, so that they could get us ready for the 8.0 job updates, which, to be fair, I'm not crazy optimistic about. I think people have too many expectations for it. Ivy, what? I'm trying to record. Why are you like this? Look at her. running in here. You were yowling at me from the other side of the room. We'll play after this. I got raiding a little bit, but we'll play after this. All right. So yeah, this is actually well within what they've already told us, but it's also so vague that it's not really a statement you can take with any serious tone. Like, what does it even mean? Like, is there going to be more randomness? Is there going to be like better? You know what's one thing they did in Chaotic? They made some of the AoEs line up with the animations a little bit better, specifically thinking of Cloud of Darkness is like the point blank AoE and the swipes. Maybe that. I really think they underutilized the idea of using the cast bar and the animation in more creative ways to utilize mechanics. It's hard for me to give a good example of it, but that's something that would really improve the battle pacing and allow them to kind of shotgun more mechanics at a more rapid pace without actually making it so fast that the player can't actually react to it or that it's overwhelming for the player. It's hard to describe, but I'm sure more longtime MMO players or raiders probably have some idea of what I'm talking about. But yeah, these are some things you can expect. Of course, new MSQ. We'll probably learn what the trial series is if there is a proper one. I'm willing to bet that it is going to be some withdrawals. So I just think it's going to be like some classic Final Fantasy bosses as like these long lost Tyral withdrawals. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see. And then I'm sure there's going to be other things. There'll probably be new Hildebrand. We are expecting the weapon series to begin probably within Crescent Isle itself. Crafting, gathering updates, the works, just all the other stuff, as well as updates to the things that already exist. Maybe variant and Criterion, although I'm thinking they're going to save that for 0.3x. And then we still have Beastmaster, which will either be in 0.4x or 0.5x, most likely. So plenty of things to look forward to, but this is going to be a very important patch for Dawn Trail. It's going to have a lot of the more long-form, long-term stuff that more players can participate in, and I really hope that they nail it this time around. So let me know what you think in the comments section of the video below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned. I'm going to be posting a lot of Final Fantasy XIV mobile videos over the next week. We've got our Final Fantasy XI Let's Play, which is now ongoing every Wednesday, weekly Q&A every Monday, and I'm also doing like mini game reviews on Sunday, where games that I beat throughout the year, I am going to be talking about them. So if you're someone who watches my content, is wondering if I've played a game, what my thoughts are on the game, the Sunday videos are where you're going to be looking out. The next one is on Tales of Grace's F, which I just finished today, including the epilogue. And I might have some stuff to say about Dynasty Warriors, Ninja Gaiden 2, as well as Avowed and several other games that are going to be coming out over the next several months. Just a Sunday day for me to kind of be an outlet for not Final Fantasy XIV stuff. But anyway, ending the video. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.